If you've seen my Bucky video, then you probably heard me state that the Bucky is pretty busted and arguably better than the Judge. However, I didn't say the Judge wasn't broken. Let me show you what the Bucky's big brother can do. I've spent a little bit of time with the Judge now, and I have to say that it offers a very different playstyle that honestly has the potential to break some fundamental concepts within the game, which is something I always like to see. The Judge is a beautiful semi-automatic shotgun that carries a glorious set of 7 bullets in its magazine and fires at 3.5 rounds per second. The Judge fires this at a rate of 3.5 bullets per second, which means that it can burn through its entire mag in 2 seconds. The Judge also carries 21 extra bullets in its magazine, however, so that is plenty of bullets for running over an entire team. The Judge also has medium wall penetration and costs 1500 credits in the shop. Here is the gun's damage profile, but that doesn't matter, because what does matter is that this thing does damage. It will basically one-shot anyone within close quarters, and is potentially a little bit farther too. One thing to note about the Judge's shooting style is that the spread of the pellets in each shot actually increases the more you fire it. So if you are shooting it at its max speed without letting the recoil reset, it will actually grow larger and larger and will make it harder to hit the entire spread. The Judge's spread is also reduced by a decent amount when you are crouching, so you can try to weave some crouches in between your shots when taking on enemies. The Judge also has this weird recoil pattern where it tends to go up and above the crosshair a bit, which is especially the case when reaching your 6th or 7th shot in its mag. Another thing to note is that this gun can just mow down entire teams when placed in the right situation. I mentioned how the gun breaks Valorant, right? This is why. With most guns in the game, you're not supposed to be able to move while shooting, which includes both running and jumping. The Judge can do both of these things without even breaking a sweat. You can literally be running full speed and jumping while using this gun, and it will barely lose any of its accuracy. So you can abuse this while using the gun by doing stuff and jumping and trying to sidestep shots while getting in your own. However, remember that getting shot or tagged in this game will drastically slow you, so you need to be very careful. However, when you do succeed with this gun, you just absolutely pop off, especially when the enemy is altogether trying to rush a site. The way you want to use this gun is similar to the other shotguns in the game, which is by positioning yourself so that you can get as close to your enemies as possible. The Judge is an absolute unit when in close range, so by closing the gap as much as you can take full advantage of the Judge's full power. In order to best rain judgment on your enemies, you can hold tight off angles with the gun and attempt to get in a good surprise shot. Agents that can close the gap and really make use of the Judge's powers will also be your best friend. To reiterate from my Bucky video, Jet's dashes and instant ability casts will allow her to slip behind enemy lines. Her excellent navigation through the air will also make the most of the Judge's lack of movement and accuracy. Viper can also use the Judge with her abilities to block vision and close the gap, and Phoenix can just use his ultimate and his other stuff to simply jump in and run at the enemy hoping they die. I have had some interesting debate over whether the Judge or the Bucky is a better gun, and I have found that to be an interesting topic for discussion as well. However, when all things are considered, both guns have slightly different use cases as well as success conditions, which is reflected in their shooting styles and in their cost differential. If you haven't seen it yet, feel free to check out my other video on the Bucky. Although the Bucky is also a godlike weapon, the Judge does a better job than it in a couple of ways. The Judge fires much faster, so it will be able to maintain a higher amount of pressure and can mow down entire teams, whereas the Bucky will have to take extended fights. The Judge also reloads more efficiently than the Bucky due to the differences in their animations. However, the Bucky offers a significant lower economic investment when compared to the Judge, the ability to still one-shot opponents for a much lower price tag, and longer range in its alternative fire. Similarly to the Bucky, however, the Judge just cannot be used at longer ranges, so you want to position yourself to take as few long-range fights as you possibly can. I also want to say that you probably cannot use the Judge every round, as there are only so many optimal spots you can have while on the gun, so eventually your style will be found out. This does not mean in any way that the Judge isn't capable. The gun is a great option for when you want to cheese out opponents, and in the time that it looks good, the gun looks incredible. The gun will melt through entire teams when given the right opportunity, so feel free to try the gun out and you won't regret it.